Welcome everybody to the Heart Coherence Collaborative.
Yeah, welcome everybody and welcome Kyle. It's great to have you here with us.
We have Kyle Cease with us.
This is actually a dream come true.
This is actually a dream come true. Yes.
I would love to hear you tell the story of how this all came about.
Okay. So I really have been a listener and fan of yours and read every book, done every course. I do AP. And at a certain point, I introduced you to everything, and we started doing Legos together, which are basically, it's like you're going into the future and remembering things as if they've already happened. So we started doing that about meeting Kyle and having on the Heart Coherence Collaborative.
Yep.
And then you can continue.
Yeah, so we were going into the future every day, imagining that we were meeting you. And since she was so passionate about meeting you, I added it to my mind movie. I saw you went on Dr. Kim's podcast. So I screenshotted a picture of you on Dr. Kim, and I put in my mind movie that I love doing heart coherence with Kyle Cease. And so, basically a couple of weeks go by, we continue to do the Legos. I'm watching my mind movie every day, and Dr. Kim reaches out to me out of the clear blue and says, I have a favor I need you to do for one of my friends. And I said, who? And she goes, Kyle Cease. And I said, well, I've been dreaming of meeting Kyle Cease now for about a year. Is there any way you could make that happen? And sure enough, she connected us, and here you are. So Leah and I are both here to advocate that your techniques work.
There's for the people watching that are, when we're talking about Lego, I'll never forget. I'm in the car with my friend Diego, and I'm on my way to an audition one day. And I was in my head about auditions. I used to act, and at the time I was in like a kind of an anxiety slump, and on the way to the audition, I decided to talk to him about the audition coming up as if it was past tense. Right. So on the way into the audition, I was like, do you remember when I went in there and just nailed it? I was so good. I was just in the pocket, and like the cast directors loved me. And he was like, I remember that. He goes, that was just so crazy, and we just kept talking about it like it happened. And then when I went in the audition, in my mind, it already happened. And it's a combination of like, when you hear envision something, that's cool. But anything in the future, you're like really kind of going, is this working? So half the time you're just putting out analyzing. But if you make a vision past tense, your mind stores it as fact, right? Because everything in your past is true to you. You can even be like, I had this miracle happen the other day, and it's just a fact because it's past tense. So that combined with ad-libbing is you creating, right? Yeah. So for people watching, this exercise has changed every aspect of my life. I can't tell you how many things in my life, career, relationships, money, everything has changed because of this exercise. So if we took like for a second, and by the way, I want to make sure I'm also acknowledging your wonderful story about us meeting. But if we're saying that exercise, I just want to throw in, imagine this podcast we're doing right now. Imagine it was a year ago. And if I was like, do you guys remember a year ago when we did that? And like 2022 was like the greatest year of your life. Like immediately the mind starts going, if it was the greatest, how did we make it that way? And
oh my God,
connecting those dots, right?
I remember that podcast, and it was so amazing, and all the incredible things that happened after that. And how we went, remember when we went to Colorado and all the fun we had?
Yes, it was incredible, man. I just remember us creating so much impact, and so much in the whole world situation just shifted. There was so much awakening. There was just so much freedom. All people moving out of, control, manipulation, fear. We're just, releasing it and, releasing that control and releasing everything. And we just all together went to a place of love, because that old dynamic, that third density dynamic just didn't work anymore. And so 2022, this last year, was like the greatest year of our lives. It was like the full awakening,
It was. And I remember people awakening around us, and it just spreading across the entire world. So
yeah,
it was the greatest year. I remember it. So like,
funny. Yeah, I actually envisioned in the I Remembers we were doing, I actually envisioned that we would do a Lego. And that is what so why is that so powerful? Like what is it about the Lego that's so powerful?
Well, let's think of the energy that we usually have. When you have the energy of something you really want, almost all the time, it comes out of a fear. Like, I want to make money so I'm not broke, or so I'm not worthless, or so I'm not whatever my parents say. You know, whenever we even ask a question, how do I? That usually is, we don't know it. It's just a normal place we live, but it's not our highest truth. That how do I, what do I do? What's my purpose? These kind of questions that we have, they're implying there's a way to do it wrong. They're implying that, you know, you don't want to fail. That all exists in these questions. Like, I can hear in everyone's tone, you can almost feel the frequency of that panic. How do I get there? What do I do? Because if I don't, when I was 5, I wasn't enough in my childhood. Like, that's the voice that's running everything. Yeah. And so when you are in a energy of have to or need to, you're really working from a place of fear, and it's not sustainable anymore. Like, if you were bullied in high school and you want to create a company to prove them wrong, fear is running that business. It's not your calling. Do you get what I'm saying? Right. So it will have to fall eventually. So what Collego is amazing at is getting you to a place not only where the thing you want, you see it, but where you're on the other side of it, where it's not a big deal that you have it. So you're not at the frequency of it will make me more because I'm not enough. You're at the frequency of it's normal that it's here, and you actually lose your egoic need and desire. I mean, if you get really good at Collego, at one point you can actually trick yourself into that you have it. So you release the desire for it completely, and then it would much more likely show up because that's the vacuum you created. So it's a surreal exercise, because you're creating, like, if I was to ad lib 2022 as if it was past tense and said, I don't know, I just remember I'm on 75 hard right now, which is this 2 workouts a day thing, and I'm drinking water. And, you know, I started it a year ago. I was on day 27 during your podcast. And like, I noticed that what I was connecting to was my discipline, and I was connecting to my core. And this caused me to understand I'm here to connect to me more than I am about anything on the external, and bring that connected me that has never really fully existed into the world. As I'm saying that, I'm saying it as if it happened. So my mind is creating that happen. You can do this with anything. Anyone watching, you can do it with how you changed your career, how you brought in, the difference between, I wonder if I could bring in a bunch of money versus here's how I made $10 million last year. Your mind has to fill that gap. I made $10 million last year. And the mind's like, how did, like, in a good way, it's like, it fills that. Yeah. Right. So if you're saying like, you know, what we usually do is we go to this complain vibration, like, I had the crappiest day, and then the mind goes, let's tell them why, because someone cut me off, and then there was no ink in the pen, and then I got audited, whatever. But if you're like, I had the greatest day yesterday, the mind does the exact same thing. It goes, how? And it brings and fills this thing in. The real power is when you keep doing it, and you get that it's not even about the thing you're wanting to manifest. You know, we're not nearly as excited about Bob Ross's paintings as Bob Ross. Like, the guy that's painting is what's amazing. And you got to get that everything you hope to manifest, it came from you. Like, every dollar you've ever made came from you. So you got to get more excited about you than the thing you want, because it's the source of what made it. And our problem is, every time we think something outside of us is our God, then we're saying I'm not, that I'm in lack. So this exercise helps you start kind of Trojan horsing you into your talents by you saying all the things that you want as if they're past tense, and how you had an amazing family and you had this incredible life and health and everything. But after a while, you kind of leave the desires for things and just hear creativity coming through, and you're painting your life just to paint. And you start to have these revelations, like, what would 2 more hours in a row of this do? And what would happen if, you know, people give 40 hours a week to a job they hate? What if I did this for 40 hours a week? You'd go into a frequency where anything you want would happen, but it starts to even leave the separate self. You start saying these things like, and then I realized all was just me, and there was no problem at all, and everything was just what it. Then you'll notice right after you do that, the world just adjusting so quickly, because you're at this frequency that you can put yourself to. I mean, complaining, and what we usually have, is the negative version of Collego. Right. Yeah. That, oh God, it's going to be the worst day of my life. You know, like, you're almost past tense futuring the negative. And so using this is just choosing to steer it in how you want. And it's pretty crazy how far it goes. I mean, I've done it a lot. I've done it more than anyone probably because I'm the creator of it, but at the same time,
I'm catching up.
yeah, no, I mean, it's a world changing thing. You do go, okay, that's what happened with you guys. What happens if you did do it 40 hours a week? And people are like, well, I got to make money. I'm like, you don't think you'd make money doing this? You don't think you'd do everything, you know? So I'm not saying everyone has to do 40 hours a week. I'm just saying you have an invincibility available for you if you choose it.
Everybody go and do this 40 hours a week. I will say,
Yeah,
I have a buddy that's probably watching, and I call him every morning and we do Kai Legos. And for a week we couldn't do it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need my Kai Legos. So it's very powerful. And you know, I encourage everyone to actually try it. Don't try it 40 hours a week, but just give it a go and see what happens. You'll be amazed what shows up in your life.
You know, and eventually you can even Kalego in a good way the fall apart of the negative things in you. Like then I fell in love with my shame.